And welcome to Refined Peasants. And today we are going to do Garrett-Ocracy, the final in the series. So I'm going to get right off the bat. We're going to do, you've probably heard it in the last 3 podcasts, we're going to do term limits for Congress.
Yay!
Nice. We might disagree a little bit on what the term limits ought to be, but I think 3 terms each, so that it would be 18 years for the Senate, and you're tapped out, and 12 years for the House?
Maybe 9.
9 years for the House? Don't quote me.
Wait, 3 terms for each?
3 terms for each.
Oh, so that'd be 6. I'm sorry.
Okay, so 6 years in the House, 6 years in the House, and 18 in the Senate. I'm also going to establish age limits at 60. I think that's a little bit lower than Nick's, might be a little bit lower than Wyatt's.
I don't know what I did.
I don't think anybody over the age of 60 ought to be running for public office. We're also going to do wage caps. I think $120,000 a year is really reasonable for a representative or a senator. They are the same salary, and it does not exist into perpetuity, which I don't know that it does now.
So you're saying once they leave office, like retire, if they don't get that?
They do not. There is no pension for U.S. representatives.
I think the only president gets a pension.
That could be accurate, and don't quote me on it.
He gets
if there is a continuance of that salary, you can get fucked. Let's see. There's no stock options. You are forced to liquidate once you are officially elected into office. You are forced to liquidate. All immediate family members are also forced to liquidate, and if you are caught insider trading based on politics, you are immediately impeached. There is no process. If the SEC finds that you have been insider trading or your family members have been insider trading, you are out, and there will be an emergency election to replace your fucking seat. I'm not having this where you come out of the Congress making millions and millions of dollars. You have no business doing that. So I think that pretty much covers the legislature. I think we all readily agreed. We could argue about semantics on how long, what the term limits are, what the age limits are, and so on.
This is your country.
Yes. But I'm just saying, for the viewers who have seen the other 2 podcasts, this is a pretty much
this is cut and dry. We've all 3 done this.
Yeah, this is something we could all agree on, and I really think most Americans agree on. What did you say the congressional approval rate runs at?
Routinely runs in the teens.
I think this would be very beneficial.
Like during the Obama years, it was 11. It actually may have been that's even below the teens.
It's just trash. It's utter trash, and it's because people don't feel adequately represented by their congressional leaders.
Congress sucks.
Congress does suck.
They won't vote new people.
So name recognition. That's a good one. We'll get the voting rights, but right off the bat, I'm going to eliminate party line voting. There is no longer an R or D next to a name. You're going to have to know who you're voting for.
So I did, abolish political parties.
Yes. At least abolish recognized political parties on the ballot. You can still run as a Republican, technically, but on the ballot, it's not going to say that. On the ballot, they're going to have to know who you are.
I like that.
So the next big one, Nick kind of covered this, but I'm strictly going to keep it to the Federal Reserve. The head of the Federal Reserve, the economy liaison for America, is now going to be an elective office. Law enforcement agencies are not in my dictatorship. I think that's strictly under the jurisdiction of the president. But the economy is now going to be an elected position. Someone who controls inflation rates and is responsible for unemployment. I think we're all pretty sick of making arguments that presidents control unemployment and inflation. They do, based on foreign policy and domestic policy to some extent, based on product pricing. But for the most part, the economy is under the regulation of the Federal Reserve, right?
Yeah, in the market. I'd say the market.
Yeah. The amount of monetary printing is strictly controlled by the Federal Reserve.
That's the completely Fed.
Now, they typically in history they're accused of responding to the president's request because the president nominates the head of the Fed. We're just going to do away with that. From now on, you get to elect your economic representative. And these people are going to strictly be, what they're going to be graded on, at least in my dictatorship, is unemployment, inflation, and interest rates.
How do we do the election? Same as
it's going to be same as the president. So honestly, I would probably give the Fed a 6-year term because economic policy can take a little bit to catch up. I think we all acknowledge that, correct?
Yeah.
You start making changes, and it may take 3, 4, 5 years to even catch up with you and start seeing the benefits. As the elected dictator, I'm going to name Thomas Sowell as the intermediary until the next election. He is going to be the head of the Federal Reserve.
No idea who that is.
I fucking love him. He's an economics guy.
Yeah. He's alright. He's decent.
He's really good. I really like him. If you don't know who Thomas Sowell is, look him up. He's got a million books that you could read about economics. Economic Facts and Fallacies is my most recent read, and it's pretty amazing. Let's see.
He's an average guy. Are you sure he doesn't have much practice in economics? Are you sure you want him leading the Fed?
I for sure do. His ideology.
He's a hell of a book writer. I don't know about how good he is at economics, but he's a hell of a book writer.
I actually don't know much about his work experience, but for sure, so it's kind of like Neil deGrasse Tyson. If you know something well, you can explain it to people, like Neil deGrasse Tyson does. So. And Thomas Sowell can very, very adequately explain capitalism.
How
to people.
You know something well is you can simplify it.
Yes, you can dumb it down for people like people like the refined peasants. Except for Wyatt, he's college educated.
Unfortunately.
So let's see. I guess moving straight on, like I said, that's going to be the only new elected office that I'm going to instill. Now the executive. There's going to be. I don't think either one of you guys focused on the executive. There are no more fucking executive orders. If it is not military action, domestic military action, there is no more military executive orders. We're not invading. We're not occupying. We're not doing anything under strict executive orders. Period. End of story. No. Hang on. There's an exception. Defense of U.S. embassies. Defense of U.S. embassies is strictly under the auspices of the President of the United States still. Military action is strictly still under the auspices. So if Cuba decides to invade Florida, the U.S. President does not have to get a memorandum from Congress to approve that. He's just going to do something about foreigners on U.S. soil.
What about if NATO gets invaded?
No, NATO is not a U.S. governmental body. I don't think he's got any obligation to. I think that needs to be supported by the Congress. That's yeah.
Despite the fact that it's treaty?
Yeah. Fuck treaties. Not all treaties. Some treaties, though. I might give you some consensus on NATO. The problem is, I think NATO is going to be. I'm going to say that NATO needs to be approved by a congressional committee, not the entire Congress, but a congressional security committee. Simply because I think that's going to need. We might have to defend that, especially with Russia invading Ukraine, and maybe other nations. And I think that's going to need quicker action than Congress could reasonably take.
You get one filibuster, you're screwed.
Well, it wouldn't even have to be a filibuster. It would just have to be people bitching, which is a filibuster. But anyway, so no more executive orders. We're not going to no more national declarations of emergency. No more any of this. You are now the military leader of the United States. You are still the commander-in-chief. You are now the primary enforcer of domestic laws. And if you are found by a third... God, I don't want to say a third party. I want some mechanism to find that the president is not adequately enforcing laws on the books. And if you are found to be inadequately enforcing those laws, you should be impeached. I am so sick and tired of presidents picking and choosing the laws they enforce, and it irritates the living crap out of me. Now, Obama's going to get a lot of flack here because of his marijuana policy. That irritates now, he is the first person that I was, politically aware enough to notice. But states like California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, and these other states all decriminalized marijuana, which is federally illegal. If you want it decriminalized, you need to vote for people who are going to decriminalize it, and it needs to be a congressional act. If it is illegal on the federal books, the president has an obligation to his office to enforce that law, regardless of how it polls. His obligation is to enforce the law on the books. He is not the person making the laws, which is why I'm getting rid of executive orders. I fucking hate it. I hate it with a burning, burning passion. Trump's executive order of a national immigration emergency to build his wall is exactly what's going to happen with climate change. And
so states don't have rights anymore?
Huh?
States don't have rights?
No, states for sure have rights.
No,
states for sure have rights.
Illegal.
Federal law preempts state law. That's federalism, right? So federally, marijuana is illegal. Okay? So that means it doesn't matter what state laws pass. Okay? If you want marijuana to be legal, or mushrooms, or whatever, you want heroin to be legal, I don't care. Well, I do care. But elect representatives who are going to make those substances legal. Do not expect the president to just not enforce laws. Okay? That is not... the president should not be able to decide what laws he does or does not enforce.
I feel like the only issue I see there would be your mechanism. So, like, whatever mechanism you choose, and you haven't outlined one yet, but it's a hard thing to make. Like, an objective, like, way to make sure that they enforce laws. And I think that's going to be your issue. Right,
so I don't want to give the Supreme Court that power because the Supreme Court can't trump the executive. That creates an imbalance in the parties, or not the parties, the government bodies.
I don't even know how you do that without making it like completely, like, especially because it's political.
I mean, so the only way I could reasonably do it is getting committees on presidential behavior in both the House, Senate, and a ruling by the Supreme Court. So it would take two bodies of the government to overrule him and demand impeachment. Does that make sense? But the committees would still be selected by the House leaders and the Senate leaders, and the Supreme Court would obviously be the Supreme Court. I'm not making any changes to the Supreme Court. I would probably put a cap, the age limit at 75 for the Supreme Court, as opposed to 60 for Congress and the president.
Why the extra 15 years?
So I find that Supreme Court justices are pretty often going to resign when they feel mentally incapable. But
really?
So hang on, because I could be persuaded. I could be persuaded to go ahead and do 60. To be honest, so we would replace them at 60, and that would be my change. There's a cap at 60.
So to go on your state and like a president enforcing federal laws.
Federal law.
So there is a reason that states can legalize weed. Is the 10th Amendment gives the power of delegates police powers to the states. So while federally, if a federal...
And so federal law enforcement isn't responsible for federal law being enforced in states. So that's why there's felonies.
A federal agent can arrest you in California for having weed, but a California police officer cannot.
Right.
That's the thing.
No, so that is...
So there's just federal law now?
No. So there is state law. There is state law, but the problem is when things are illegal federally, they cannot be legal state. Does that make sense? So abortion couldn't be restricted federally. Okay. And so any state that made a law restricting abortion prior to the overturning could not make that law. Correct?
I believe because that was a constitutional thing.
Well, that's the thing, is the Constitution gives the power of enforcement of the congressional laws, of the feds' laws, to the president. The issue is there are laws on the books, immigration laws, marijuana laws, drug laws in general now, because of Oregon and Washington and California, about legalized heroin and mushrooms and stuff like that. And so don't get me wrong, I do not personally disagree with organic use of mushrooms or of marijuana. All right, so the harder stuff I do disagree with pretty vehemently. But the issue I'm trying to address here is the president gets to pick and choose what laws he enforces, and that is not right. Laws passed by the congressional body of the U.S. government are laws voted on by the people. He has no choice but to enforce those. And this has been an issue since the founding. People have picked and choose what presidents have picked and choose.
It's not just the feds.
I'd argue.
This isn't just an Obama issue. This goes back to like Jefferson. Jefferson had different laws that Congress passed that he was basically like, well, I'm just not going to enforce them.
I'd argue
and that's not okay. And I love Jefferson.
Just because Congress passes a law doesn't mean the citizens wanted it.
So that's part of what I'm trying to rectify here with the congressional term limits. Also on Congress, like, everybody's out. Everybody sitting in Congress right now, you're out. We're all holding emergency elections. We are starting this motherfucker over from point blank.
Do they get to run again?
So if they're under the term limit, yes. Oh. You get to run again without a R or a D next to your name.
We understand that most people know, like Nancy Pelosi, Democrat.
Do they?
Maybe Nancy Pelosi. But do you know who your local congressman is? It's Tom Cole.
I think mine's Langford.
That's a senator.
I know Stephanie Bice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yours is Stephanie.
Bice. Mine is Stephanie Bice. I know that for sure. We're not gonna get into it. But the point is, we're going to start the whole congressional branch over because these people have not done anything, and I think everybody's pissed off about it. Okay, so actually, the Democrats, credit where it's due, have been stepping up. I am supportive of legalizing gay marriage on as a law.
You're to codify it.
Yeah, I am supportive of that. I'm also supportive of codifying contraception. Abortion is my main stick. If you haven't watched our abortion podcast, go check it out.
You gonna outright ban it?
Oh, abortion? Yeah, in all cases except for life of the mother, abortion's banned.
Oh, even rape?
Yeah. Rape and consensual incest, it's banned.
What about unconsensual incest?
That's rape.
So that's rape.
Yeah, so that.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that no, that child that child didn't rape you. Now I am also I was gonna focus on the executive.
What's the life of the mother?
I'm gonna say a committee of 3 appointed doctors, and I'm going to appoint them.
You don't think that's a little biased?
Forever? They got lifetime appointments?
No, they're gonna be approved. Or? They're gonna be approved by the Senate. Oh man, maybe they should be approved by the states. But that's gonna end it.
Yeah, why not
this okay. So let's talk. You know what? Let's do people. Let's do a popular vote on doctors.
Okay.
Who are going to determine whether life of the mother is at risk? You get to elect 3, and you elect them every 2 years. Okay, and they determine whether or not they review these cases, and they determine whether or not the life of the mother is at risk.
It's a decent amount of bureaucracy there.
That is a large amount of bureaucracy. There's going to be a lot.
What happens if it's too? What happens when they don't act too soon? What if they act too late? Mother dies on the birthing table.
Well, then she died, Nate.
That's a tragedy. That is a tragedy.
The dual tragedy.
It really. Maybe there is a better way I can handle this. Let's put that to the side and let me think on it for a minute.
Okay, so all my questions are about the cultural stuff. I won't lie to you. So whenever you're done, you just let me know because I got so many questions.
All right, so I have covered executive orders. There's no more fucking executive orders.
What do you do with the filibuster? Do you keep it? Get rid of it? What do you do with it?
Yeah, I'm keeping the filibuster, and I'm going to reinstate it in the Congress or in the House. I apologize. So there is now a 60 vote minimum to get stuff passed. In both the House and Senate.
So you just really
60% or 60 vote?
60% in the House, 60 vote in the Senate.
Okay.
So you really just don't want nothing to happen?
Same difference. Huh?
You really just don't want nothing?
No, I want people to be forced to the middle, which is also why I'm putting term limits and why I'm putting salary caps and why I'm putting a bunch of other constraints on congressional members.
There's actually a really, really good book. Whenever you become stagnant, it doesn't push people to the middle. I think it pushes people to the extreme.
It for sure does. Stagnation is what happened in pre-no fun party Germany. Is stagnation of the economy in a very depressed state, albeit, pushed people to either the communist or the socialist party.
That's what's happening.
National Socialist
Party. That's what's happening to America now.
It is in fact what is happening to America now. If you haven't watched our totalitarian podcast, I swear to God, it's like us predicting the future.
So it's not going to push them to the middle.
No, I actually think it would push us to the middle because we're instilling a term limit. So people are going to be like the old people are going to be out. The people who keep so what's happened is like senators like Mitch McConnell has been elected year over year over year because of pure name recognition, right? And the R next to his name.
Majority whip.
No, he's the minority leader.
Who's the whip?
Well, he's also the whip. I don't care what this title is. He's also the fucking
and
whip.
Physically. He carries a whip.
Yes. So what? Let's see. I've covered. Foreign policy. Foreign policy. We are now global enforcers. I am not restricting the military budget, and we are going to become like Russia's invasion of Ukraine. You stop now. You stop now, or things bad happen.
So even because
you're going to risk nuclear war.
I'm going to openly declare nuclear war if they don't put their shit to an end.
You think Russia's going to care?
I think we've got a lot more to lose on that one.
I think we have a lot more to lose if we lose American hegemony across the globe. American hegemony after post World War II has ensured the prosperity of 90% of the world. 90% of the world has become incredibly prosperous after American hegemony and World
Say
War
that
II.
to Africa when Nestle comes to town.
Africa has actually become amazingly prosperous compared to pre-World War II.
Well, I mean, with technology and stuff, but I wouldn't say that that's
So and being integrated into global trade, into globalism, is actually incredibly, and all of that is India too.
No,
all of that
no.
is bought. Yes, it for sure, 100% is. International trade has been around somewhat, not to the extent of post-World War II globe. When the Americans had the biggest guns on the block, we ensured that everybody could freely trade with everybody else except communism.
So you couldn't trade with everyone you wanted.
No, you couldn't trade with communism. That was the one stipulation that you had to pick a side. Hang on, because I gotta get it out. I gotta get it out.
Form of communism. We were the greatest.
No.
Across the globe.
No.
What do you mean? We would kill an elected.
We instilled more free markets across the globe.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we for sure did.
We instilled
countries that
America.
have never even heard of free market.
You ever heard of the banana?
Instilled free market
republics?
capitalism.
You ever heard of the banana republic?
So again, you can probably name up to 15.
I can name several countries that we went in.
I'm saying you could
killed
probably
an elective president, put in a dictator who
I'm
oppressed
sure.
his citizens.
I'm not saying America hasn't made mistakes. I'm saying American hegemony post World War II has been a huge boon to the entire globe. Because the Navy of the U.S. ensured free trade from country to continent to country across the entire. There's a whole reason that Taiwan, 98% of manufacturing.
We don't even have the best Navy.
Oh no! Yeah, we do. Not even fucking close.
Not post World War II.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Not no. No. You're fucking wrong. No. Post World War II.
The Navy in World War II. First one went Germans, Britons. We were far down the list.
You were entirely fucking false. Entirely fictional.
You really gonna tell me?
There is a reason the Germans didn't conquer us. It's because they didn't have the fucking Navy.
We didn't have the Navy to conquer them. We had to go to England and France.
Bullshit, we didn't have the fucking Navy. We went and stormed Normandy.
Hey, you know we didn't use our Navy? We used British naval.
We conquered the entire Pacific.
The Pacific.
The largest ocean on the planet.
That has nothing in it. Except a few small islands. You don't get nothing.
That were entirely crucial to beating the Japanese.
Oh my god, we conquered a big ocean of nothing.
I'm not going to say...
Trade routes.
I'm not going to say our Navy was the biggest and the baddest, but it was definitely, the most critical of the war. We definitely played the best.
We were the biggest player navally, and we are still the biggest player today. China doesn't...
We're the biggest player today.
110%. 80% of China's ships... The only one even approaching us is China, and 80% of China's ships can't make it 1,000 feet off 1,000 miles off the coastline. They can't even fucking sail across the Pacific.
That's true.
It is fucking true. It is true.
No.
Yes.
China's technology is
so fake news. It's entirely fake news. China is a dying country, and that's why they're so fucking intent on invading Taiwan.
Dying country?
Yes.
Most
rapidly aging demographic in the entire world. They usurped Japan.
Okay.
They have the least per capita.
Doing?
Japan's doing okay.
Phenomenal. When they had the highest.
Right now.
They were doing great.
They're only doing okay because American hegemony has ensured free trade.
You're saying that they're gonna.
China's going to collapse. China's going to collapse, economically. China's going to collapse by 2030.
What about Vietnam? Vietnam did fine without us. They beat us.
The fuck they did. The Chinese backed Vietnam. Chinese also backed Korea.
So communism beat capitalism?
Well,
no,
you should
bodies
probably
beat
know
capitalism.
You should
bodies. Russian bodies. Military strategy.
In Vietnam, we fought the North Vietnamese.
The Viet Cong.
We fought the North Viet Cong.
Well, no,
that was it. They were backed with Chinese surplus, but we fought the North.
You know what fucking
Chinese surplus is, Nick?
It's AKs.
So in Vietnam,
it's Russian surplus.
The Viet Cong were not North Vietnamese. They were Southern Vietnamese people who were Northern Vietnamese sympathizers.
Yes, they had turned communist.
Northern Vietnamese people, they were often called regulars or something.
They're VC.
Yeah, VC. No,
they're just called Viet Cong. It was Ho Chi Minh and his men.
Yeah, so those people, we most of the time were fighting sympathizers. We weren't fighting the actual. Now, every so often we'd fight the actual army, and those people They gave us a run. But, well, I mean, they beat us.
Yeah,
So the point here is American hegemony is key to sustaining not just an American global empire, but the global standard of living that is so drastically increased since World War II.
Okay. So I just got to know what's more important. Is it the American hegemony or the global prosperity?
I would say the two go hand in hand.
I'm going to need a one or the other.
You're not going to get one. I mean, so
that means American hegemony. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
Probably
American.
American.
I just needed an honest answer.
If I had to choose, it would be American hegemony because I think American hegemony is the idea that made the global economy. The idea that we're not going to conquer these lands. We're not going to imperialize them. We're not going to take them as colonies. We're not going to occupy them.
What history books are you learning from?
So we didn't. We really didn't. As much land as we conquered in Europe and Japan, we actually turned it back over. Japan is Japanese for a reason. They don't speak English. They speak Japanese for a reason. Okay. Germans still speak German and not English and Russian for a reason. Oh, well, American English is distinct from English.
It's still called English.
I understand.
It's a dialect.
It's a common thing.
You're not going to convince me that we were just peaceful.
No. I'm not saying
capitalism.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely, capitalism spread across.
Absolutely, blood and sweat paid for by American hegemony. And I think that is the primary driving force. Because the Americans basically came in and said, we are no longer doing this. We are no longer doing warring nations. From now on, as long as you side with us against communism, you will be invited into a World Economic Forum that usurps the entire globe. From South Africa to England.
You were mistaken to think it was, if you sign with us, it's like, no, you're going to side with us.
Yeah, it was more like, or else.
And it was throwing the weight of the Allied powers. So the Allied powers after World War II were essentially everyone's.
It was taking
the only economy left standing.
It was taking American hegemony and shoving it down your throat, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, so you weren't going to start stealing resources from other people.
And if you got in the way, you were slaughtered.
Yeah, you were casualties of war.
And you think that's good?
Or collateral damage?
I think it resulted in the single most prosperous global society of the entirety of human civilization.
I think that's dangerous philosophy.
Nope.
But that's cool.
Get off your high horse.
So for sure,
we've killed hundreds of thousands of people.
We for sure. We have for sure done ugly things.
People who
not nearly as ugly as communism.
People comfortably living their lives.
I don't know about that one.
People comfortably living their lives and us butting in because we thought
If by comfortably living their lives you mean raiding cargo ships, transporting goods from country to country, then yes.
Vietnam was fine.
They were starving to death, Nick.
No, they weren't.
Yes. The starvation rate prior to World War II.
Show me.
I don't have the statistics. But I will give you a book. I'll give you a book title.
I'll tell you this. Right now, Vietnam is still considered a communist country. They're kind of not. They're kind of like China. They're a weird mix.
Well, I think I mentioned it on the last.
Prosperous.
I think I mentioned it on the last podcast. The End of the World is Just Beginning by Peter Zahan. And The End of the World is Just Beginning by Peter Zahan. Zeihan. Book recommendation for this podcast. It's really intriguing and goes into exactly what we're talking about.
Vietnam's biggest famine was under American hegemony in World War II. So that's
we prevented them from trading with communist China.
It's World War II, Garrett. This is before communist China. This is when the Chinese were getting butt raped by the Japanese.
So during World War II,
1945, just beat the Germans, pushing it to the Japs.
I wonder if they had sided with Japan.
No, they were fighting.
I don't think anyone sided. I think it was literally Japan via everybody.
I wonder if it was because it was probably under Japanese rule then.
They were probably
it was under Japanese.
Then yes, because it wasn't America. It was the Japanese starving them out.
You understand? The only reason Japan was there was because the French were there.
But by 1945, we had conquered most all the way up to Japan, though.
Yeah, because the famine was a fucking typhoon.
It's inland Asia, though.
Yeah, because the famine was a typhoon. It caused a huge storage. It wasn't even Japan's fault. Japan was just there to fight the French.
Then it's entirely irrelevant.
Well, the fact that after they got their independence from France, they were completely fine.
My premise here is that post-World War II, American hegemony globally has resulted in more nations being pulled out of poverty than any economic system or any hegemony ever ever on
Say
the
that to
entire
Middle-
planet.
Say that to the Middle East.
I will say it to the Middle East. I will say it to China. I will say it
Middle
to
East did
Japan.
go
I will say it to
backwards.
Russia. I will say it to fucking... Well, that wasn't us. That was after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Like, after the Ottomans, they
No,
kind of
no. I
just...
mean, like they had a
And who can you think of?
arguably compared to now, they had more rights for women than they do now. More like freedom, more like capital L liberal ideology. And then
was
we went
post
in
World
there
War
and
I.
we enacted as many conservative, not in the American context, but conservative religious groups. We rose those to power as
religious
fast as
extremists.
possible, and they went in there and they messed it all up. But it's because we put them there to do that. Like we wanted them to destabilize the reason get
the
cheap
point is the net gain of post World War II American hegemony globally has been huge and underappreciated. I'm not saying it doesn't have faults. I'm not saying it was perfect. What I'm saying is that the entire globe has been pulled up by its fucking bootstraps by the security that America provided to global trade.
At gunpoint.
Well, yeah, security is provided at fucking gunpoint.
No.
No.
No,
How do you
we
protect the
point-
I
president?
wouldn't even call it
How do you
security.
protect? How do you protect the president?
We pointed the gun
Guns.
at the people.
How do you protect trade? Since the dawn of fucking trade, weapons.
No, I'm saying we.
How do you
point-
stop the barbarians from
we-
raiding your fucking caravan?
We told people
Weapons.
either get on board or face our cannons.
Yeah, I don't think you're.
It was It was with us against communism and
was-
have
but
access
that's
to
not
our
free
economy.
trade.
It's not
that's
free
not
tra-
free
that's-
trade, and that's compulsory trade. Like that's trade literally. Like if you don't trade,
I didn't
if
say
you-
that.
if
I
you
said
trade,
American
then you're fucked.
hegemony.
Okay.
American hegemony was holding a gun to your head, saying,
That is entirely what defending global, just imperial economics has been.
"No, it's walking
Yes.
up to a guy who's living his life fine. He's doing fine, and you go up, putting a gun to his head, and say, hey, you a communist? Oh,
That is no.
and if he was, you
No.
pulled the trigger.
That's bullshit. That is entirely bullshit. That is
not
going
bullshit.
up to a poor tribe in Africa and
Let's
saying,
let's go down
hey,
the list. Let's go down the list. North Korea, the Korean War, Vietnam, a bunch of other Asian countries, South
No.
South
You
America,
wanted to go down a list. Go down a list.
I can
North
go.
Korea, Vietnam,
Thailand, Indonesia. Let's go to South
Indonesia.
Yeah, Indonesia, Cuba.
Really, Cuba wasn't impoverished before American
They're
hegemony.
doing pretty fine.
Yeah, totally. Right?
I mean,
Huh?
they're fine. I mean, they're no superpower, but it's Cuba. They don't need to be. They're doing fine economy-wise. Venezuela kind of knew. They kind of got fucked. A bunch of South American.
Venezuela got fucked because of American politics, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Are you fucking
It,
kidding me?
it definitely wasn't
We cut
because
off
of
the
centralized.
world-
It definitely
we
wasn't
cut off
because
them from the world trade market. Are you
because he
fucking
started killing people who were trying to.
Because we
No,
we
it's
put
because
in
they were communists.
Just
because we
read
put in
into
dictators.
Venezuelan usurpation
Because
of
we
their
put-
energy sector.
Because we put in dictators in South America.
No, it's because
we did do that.
we did do that, but
did do that.
no, Venezuela's
American
falling.
hegemony, right there, putting in dictators and then getting pissed when they
All right,
don't.
so you think
fall.
okay? So I don't really care about your reasons, what? But you're saying that we're going to try and promote as much American hegemony because it's a great and good and all that other propaganda bullshit, all that other stuff. Okay, so we're doing that. How? I'm not gonna.
Well, by keeping the $800 billion military budget,
Okay, I'm with you.
we're going to enforce.
$800 billion and we just lost a 20-year war.
We lost it because we pulled out.
We
We lost it because we surrendered.
That's still a loss, and now you're thinking you can.
Well, it's
bully-
because it
you
wasn't
think
really
you
a
can-
war; it
you
was an
think you can-
occupation.
You just lost on the global stage,
And
20
also, the
years-
dementia of a president we have did it
Well, he-
really
he-
shit.
He didn't sign the treaty.
Oh,
The
but he did
orange-
pull out the way he
It's
did.
called the surrender treaty. Like I don't know what you want me to say. like we admitted Donald Trump admitted defeat to the Taliban. Like fuck off.
And so you're after on global stage losing a 20-year war, spending trillions of dollars into fucking
I
nothing.
really don't think you understand how much
Influence we don't have anymore because China and Russia are pretty much top dogs.
how
almost.
much
wouldn't
the
call
lost
Russia
how much the
China.
lost of how much a loss of American influence on a global stage is going to detrimentally affect America. Not just America, the entire
I got
globe.
him.
What happens when no
You
one
didn't
takes you
get me.
serious?
I'm just saying, like the entire global economy is going to
You
collapse.
ain't got the leverage to bully Russia and China.
Yes, we do. That's why we have an $800 billion military budget.
And we lost a 20-year war. We haven't won a war since World War II. All right, let's
Well,
see
the
who
thing
we
is
can
that
bully.
wars with now, like against superpowers, involve nukes, and that's scary.
Haven't won a war since World War II. Who are we going to bully? A long time.
It's not bullying; it's enforcement.
How you going to enforce it when you got no leverage? Granted, you won a big war. Don't get me wrong. It was a huge, significant war.
Apparently,
won
merchant ships defending themselves from pirates is bullying.
But that doesn't sound like what you're advocating for.
That is what I'm advocating for.
Well,
That's
how
what
do you get
America's been doing.
What do you need an $800 billion?
Because there's a lot of fucking pirates. The only reason there's not a lot of pirates right now is because we have the most powerful navy in the world.
You know we can't do anything on Somali's waters, right? We'd wait till you get into international waters.
Let me stroll a U.S. patrol ship right up to Somalia's fucking border. What are they going to do?
Try you for war crimes if you do anything?
Oh, no, they won't.
No, they won't.
Yeah, probably won't.
Yeah, they fucking won't.
But you know what's going to happen? The Russians...
You know what we're going to do when we shut down the Strait of Hormuz? Fucking nothing.
No, that would cost something.
No.
Why would you shut off trade?
No, I'm just saying, like, we have the potential.
Oh, okay.
So if Russia was...
That's Saudi Arabia, too.
If Russia... Let's say...
you're going to shut down the majority of the world's oil and think nothing's going to happen? You legit
That's not what I said. I said, what would they do? And the answer? Fucking nothing.
You're gonna
do you know
China,
why they would
Russia,
do
you're going to get a lot of countries you're going to be pissed. Your allies are going to get pissed. The Strait of Hormuz... Yeah, it supplies most of the world with
No,
oil.
it supplies Asia. And
guess who's
some of South
who's
America.
In Asia? Who's
Europe.
in Asia?
Southern Europe does. Eastern...
Not even Turkey.
No, like Italy and the Baltic
From the Strait of
States.
Hormuz?
Yeah. Or would that be the Balkans? Yeah, that'd be the Balkans.
The Balkans are up north by Russia.
No, I think that's
they
the
get their
Baltics, right? Whichever one is Eastern Central Europe. But yeah, most of the Eastern Central Europe rely on...
it still
Eastern
doesn't really
oil, either
matter.
from
We could
Russia or
shut it down and nobody would do a goddamn thing. Do you know why?
So here's the thing. The United States could do a lot of stuff, but just because you have the what are you going to do about it? I mean, there was a mustache man who thought very similar about shit like that. And there's a reason we don't like him, and it's because he's an authoritarian nightmare. And I think that's... I mean, look, it's your country. I'm just saying, like, that's where you're pushing us.
America is the only...
authoritarian
America's authoritarianism on a global stage has been authoritarian on enforcement of free trade.
I don't think so.
It has.
Then why
There is a reason that global poverty has risen since World War II.
Yeah, 20%.
It's because they've had
oil
access
comes from the
to
Strait of
technology,
Hormuz.
they've had access to investment, they've had access to all different kinds of capital because America has been running the trade routes. America has said you will not interfere with trade from country to country.
I'm just going to level with you. I don't really care if you just set up ships and you're like, all right, nobody's going to be stealing off of these ships. But that's... Whenever you say American hegemony and you're saying global affairs, that's not what most people think. And for the record, that's not what most people have a problem with. Most people have a problem with the fact that you're bombing weddings in Syria. And 40 kids died because you bombed a children's hospital to not kill a terrorist. Like,
so again, a lot of... I'm not saying that America hasn't...
Iraqis.
I'm not saying that America hasn't made a lot of mistakes. Okay, America has clearly made a lot of mistakes, 2020 being hindsight. America's made a lot of mistakes. Just recently, Joe Biden bombed an entire car full of family members trying to escape to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
That was pretty recent. Obama and Trump, we all bombed. Like, we've made bombings that did not hit the target and resulted in unnecessary civilian casualties that are a tragedy. Okay?
Yeah.
Not saying the tragedies haven't been committed. I'm not saying that even racially motivated or ideological motivated crimes haven't been committed. What I am saying is the net gain of American hegemony across the globe has been so huge you can't really even fathom it. Our generation existing 3 generations from the pre-World War II global empire. There was no fucking global empire before World War II. After World War II, America was the largest economy left standing. We were the only ones, and that's what we did with Europe. We basically said you can have access to our economies. There was no global empire.
You ever heard of Great Britain and its colonies?
Really? After World War II, Great Britain was still standing, Nick?
After
London was in fucking shambles.
They still had a shit ton of
France
influence.
was nothing but fucking ruins.
Well,
Spain,
you know what happens?
I think, got off pretty okay.
Turns out
Italy got off really okay because they surrendered.
When most of the fighting happens in Europe, shit gets turned to rubble.
So,
it's kind of
here's
why
the thing.
The South got fucked in the Civil War.
Didn't say that America was left standing because a bunch of fighting occurred in Europe. I said we were the economy left standing. And we went to Europe and said, hey, we had your back, and now there's an enemy in communism. And you have a choice. You can either side with us against communism and have access to our economy, the only large economy left standing with significant input and capital, or you can side with the communists and you can get fucked. And you know what a lot of the European countries decided to do? Decide with America.
Not half of them.
Son of a bitch.
Not half of them.
Half of them didn't have a fucking choice, or otherwise they would have.
I'd say the majority of European countries, certainly the majority of the money.
The large majority of the money, and again, the only reason the fucking Soviet bloc became the Soviet bloc was because the Soviets said you don't have a choice.
Well, I think you're missing a lot of the
because we
context.
signed a treaty for that.
After World War II, though, I think you're missing a little bit because Truman was president.
Between here and then,
Truman wasn't really calling the shots at that point. Truman was more like, we got to get this, we got to be done with war. That's what he wanted. Our generals argued that maybe we should go ahead and fight this war
against Russia.
To the Russians. And then the rest of Europe came together. Like, what's his name? Winston Churchill came around and he said, yeah, no. And so,
there was no way Europe could even man another war.
Yeah,
it was going to be American soldiers invading through Europe to Russia, and there was no reasonable way to get it done. The Nazis had just fucking failed to invade Russia, and we didn't have half the fucking technology yet.
Point. That's not. But what I'm saying is that it's not like that wasn't.
That's why we decided. That's why we decided to go against them economically. Choose us and have access to our economy, or choose Russia and have access to theirs. But I'm saying Russia has also been devastated by the Nazis.
I think the point you're trying to get across, though, is that it's like Truman had Winston Churchill and the rest of European leaders and being like, "Look, you guys have a choice: us or them." It's not really what happened because the rest of Europe, you got to understand, most of Europe, even before the Soviets, they were capitalists. I mean, even the Nazis, they were capitalists.
It's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot. So it wasn't even a thought that they were going to go join the communists. Of course they were going to be communists. Like that conversation...
Well, so it may not have been a discussion for the Europeans, but it was a discussion for the rest of the world.
Yeah, most of them chose
because these were still combative ideas. So you have to understand, communism was still thought to be working post World War II because they had just beaten the German advance.
Okay, but now we're in... Okay, so not to bounce back, I guess, but in the modern era, there's not really a threat of communism much anymore.
No, communism pretty much a defeated ideology.
So what is the point of your American hegemony then?
So the point of American hegemony is really there are collapsing thanks to the book I've just been reading. Because of birth rates, there are collapsing demographics across the world. And the thing about collapsing demographics when you have a millennial, so just in America, let's say we have a millennial group that is younger, but less prosperous, less procreating than the boomer generation. And then we have Nick's generation, and you're millennial, whatever. Each generation is successfully below replacement value. And what inevitably ends up happening is you run out of manpower. So this issue with... Now, there is the argument that automation will be able to catch up and provide the gap. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is manpower is required for a lot still. Currently, as things sit.
So I have a question. What do you do with countries that don't want our ideals or our ideology?
So I don't want to force American ideology on countries. Now I am not a fan of genocides, the Rwanda genocide, Saudi Arabian genocides, Uyghurs genocides. I'm not a fan of these. But
so what do you do to China to stop, say, the Uyghur camps?
So the nature of American foreign politics is sometimes you have to deal with ugly people. Not everyone's going to be American. And that's sad, and I wish we could enforce, but we don't. Even with an $800 billion military budget, we just don't have the forces to go to war with everybody. And I think for the interest of Americans and the West in general, capital W, I think you're going to have to deal with ugly people. Like most recently, Biden got a lot of flack from his left, ironically, for fist bumping the Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the nature of global politique is you're going to have to make deals with people you don't like and people who do atrocious things. And don't twist it. There are still a great many countries that do very atrocious things. China is systematically killing Uyghur Muslims in a genocidal rage for whatever reason. Middle Eastern people are still killing really anyone who doesn't agree with Sharia law. Saudi Arabians are still killing journalists for asking questions. There are still a lot of human atrocities committed that make you as an American, at least me, feel quite blessed to actually be born where you are. It makes everything else feel petty.
What are you saying, though? Like, I get ugly people. What's the point?
Sometimes you have to make deals with ugly people. There are ugly people in the world, and sometimes you have to make acquiescence to them.
Gas.
Okay, so what do you do when Russia tells you go fuck yourself, we're invading Ukraine? What do you do?
Well,
we answer with the $800 billion of military.
So he doesn't take over before they invade Ukraine. So, like, they're currently fighting a war right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what do you do then? Like, what do you do right now? You moving troops?
So we put U.S. troops on the border of Ukraine. If it were me,
like the western border.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. No. The eastern border.
So they're going to be
the Latvian countries, and we also, as NATO, we unanimously So
western border of Ukraine,
northeast. Yeah. So western. I apologize. I was confused. So the western border of Ukraine in allied countries, and we also admit as many of those allied countries into NATO immediately. And I understand that Ukraine specifically, Turkey specifically, Turkey's already in NATO, isn't it? But some of these countries have a lot of democracy issues. They have a lot of corruption issues. But I am not willing to condone Russian advancement. They might get Ukraine, and that's unfortunate. I wish they didn't get Ukraine. I wish we had reinforced Ukraine and made a bigger threat to their invasion. But what is done, and I'm not willing to fight a ground war immediately. So we post up around the western border of Ukraine and say, you go no farther. And if you come any farther, it is the entire warhammer of the West that will come down on you.
They have a lot of nukes, too.
Yeah.
I think they have as much, if not just a
little
bit less.
They have a lot less population spread, though.
Not as tight as most of Europe.
I'm
just saying.
Europe is going to take them.
So America might still be standing, but your allies might be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean all of them. And I'm not joking.
And then it's you versus Russia, and then China.
Problem is it? I mean, so Russia China maybe.
You understand?
I think we take China. You
understand?
I am an iron fist of defense. I am what's the word? What's the Israeli defense system?
Iron Dome.
I am an iron dome over the entire.
You know, there's a problem though. There's a part in the ocean.
Oh, there's several problems. I understand.
No. There's a part in the ocean that, from firing a missile to hitting landfall, takes 8 seconds. Our missile defense takes 10 seconds to recognize something.
If the U.S. military has acknowledged a 10-second delay, it's probably a 6-second delay. I'm just saying, like, they've come out with saying, like, the U.S. military tech that's publicized is deliberately
so that's one
misconstrued.
Strategy. You don't think and I agree with you that it's deliberately misconstrued, but most of the time they overestimate.
I don't think so.
And then the reason they do it is because it's a fear tactic.
It's an intimidation. Yeah. So I understand. Like North Korea says they can launch something across the Pacific, and they launch it like 1,000
feet. Well,
that's
just I mean, America. Whenever we made satellites, we thought we could send them more than 400 miles up. We can't. Even today, it's hard to get it past 500. We had to dedicate a decade to it.
So hang on. Are we wrapping up foreign policy here?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
just whatever you guys
want. So
I got a coach rule.
A coach rule?
Cultural.
Oh, hang on. So I want to do immigration real quick.
Okay. We didn't touch immigration meanwhile.
So immigration policy. A lot of people are, I won't assume misconceptions about myself. So my immigration policy is going to be, what is the approximate number of illegal immigrants?
Like 15 million.
15 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Undocumented.
I thought that's what you had mentioned. So for the 15 million, we are on a high enforcement, strict lockdown for the enforcement of this first tier. First tier is what we're going to do is we are going to institute identification numbers and work visas to every single one of the working age illegal immigrants currently in the United States, all 15 million of them.
Okay.
We are going to give them IDs that identify them as visa-registered immigrants that allow them to work in the United States.
Okay.
Assuming they have no criminal background. So we're going to run their fingerprints, we're going to run their DNA, we're going to make sure there's nothing. We're going to make sure there's nothing in the database of unsolved crimes that attribute to them. If they're obviously if they come back as a murder suspect, they're out. Done. Period. End of story.
Not even convicted, just a suspect?
Yeah, so if they come up on a crime scene, and honestly, I'd give them a trial.
So if they're acquitted, they're good, but if
Yes. But I'm going to give them a 3-year work visa. You complete the 3-year work visa, you are allowed to take a citizenship test. And if you pass that citizenship test, you are now granted full American rights. You are now a citizen of the United States. Congratulations. Your children, assuming they are under the age of 18 after the 3-year graduation period, are also full American citizens, having grown up in the American system. And that's it. That is everybody. All the illegal immigrants in America are now legal, working U.S. citizens. Now, obviously, if you commit a crime, specifically a felony crime, or even, I would say, 2 state misdemeanor crimes, you are deported immediately with your family.
Okay, so keep your nose clean, pass the test.
Yes.
Okay. All
how you
right.
getting
And I'm going to give you the legal right to work. The immediate legal right to work. So you're going to pass a preliminary background check, and you are going to get the if you pass, you are going to get the immediate right to work in the United States.
How are you gonna get all 15 million?
So just open a registry. I think most of the 15 million. So the people who have committed felonies are obviously not going to come apply for the system. But I think most people who they came here illegally to.
You don't think they're going to think
they would have preferred. They would have preferred to come here legally.
You don't think they're going to fear they're getting set up? Like, if you just come here and register instead of...
they might, but after 1 or 2 of their friends report that they didn't get deported...
I would be shocked if you got 10% of the 15 million.
I don't think so. I think a lot of people... I think a lot of these immigrants really came here looking for a good life, and the best way to get a good life... The best way to get a good life is become a registered U.S. Work visa, because that's going to ensure you. That's going to ensure you a federal minimum wage, which I know at $7.50 an hour isn't great, but it's probably better than what these illegal migrants are being paid for labor. So I think a lot of them would register. I think for the security of, especially given the benefit that after 3 years,
to think that they would all register.
Maybe I do. Maybe I'm being an unabashed optimist, which would be pretty rare for me.
So like if I had an open registry for guns, dude, everyone's gonna register.
Guns,
you'd be like, what a fucking moron.
Guns isn't the same issue. But I would understand the fear that some of them may not register. But the point is, you don't have to come register.
How do you prevent?
The point is that you can. The point is that you can. And then every month we're going to accept 25,000 new immigrants under the same process. You will be given a background check. You will be given a work visa, and you, your spouse, and your family, your immediate children, will be allowed into the United States under a work visa. Okay, assuming you also pass the same preliminary background check. 25,000 per month. After 3 years, you are able to take a citizenship test. It will be in English. There is only one native language spoken in America, whether we acknowledge it or not. And
that's funny.
And if you pass, you become a full U.S. citizen. So every month so for the 15 million we open that to registration as they come, and for people crossing the border, assuming you pass a background check, you will be allowed to be given a work visa. You, your wife, and your spouse and your children will be allowed to come here legally, work for 3 years, pass the citizenship test, and become full U.S. citizens. Assuming you pass the 3-year citizenship test along with your spouse, your children will be automatically registered for U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, but
so I would probably say you get three retries. 3 retries, and then we have to renew your work visa or deport, depending on your job history, your benefit to the United States.
Okay.
What if they volunteer for the military?
Volunteer for the military, your family is immediately granted basic U.S. military benefits.
Are they partial citizens?
Yes, so while under a work visa, you are a partial citizen. You don't get a right to vote in federal elections, but you do have a right to, you will be paying taxes. You will be paying into the system.
So after their contract's up in the military, do they still have to take the test?
No, not for the first 3 years.
Okay.
You're going to be reaping the benefits of the U.S. system, so your children will be eligible for U.S. benefits.
Do you get tax returns?
No. Well, yes. You would get tax returns if you were overtaxed under the usual system.
So they do their military contract. Once their contract is up, do they have to take the?
I would say so. If you serve in the military, you are automatically 3 years in. You don't have to take the citizenship test, and your spouse and your children are also granted U.S. citizenship.
Most contracts, I think, are 8 years.
Yes.
So as soon as your contract ends,
4 active duty and 4 ROR is what they offered me when I was trying to join the Air Force.
So after 8 years, you're automatically a citizen.
No, after 3 years.
3 years.
After 3 years into your service, your spouse and your family are automatically citizens.
So that's assuming you don't get into any trouble in the.
Yes, obviously, if you're dishonorably discharged in year 2, you and your family are deported.
Okay, so as long as you keep your nose clean in the military, you're fine. 3 years.
So that's the basic premise. Is I think a lot of these illegal immigrants come here really seeking better lives, and while I acknowledge that our system can't handle a giant influx like 200,000 per month, I do want to help as many people as possible, and I think we need to find some kind of mutually beneficial agreement. A 3-year work visa where they're allowed to work here, make money here with their families.
It's a lot of bureaucracy.
Is going.
That's a lot of bureaucracy. I won't lie.
We're gonna make up for it. We're gonna make up for it when y'all question me about tax policy. But
okay,
that is my immigration policy.
Okay.
I'm pretty pro immigration. I want to make sure people are coming here for the right reasons. They're not Chinese spies stealing technology, which happens way too much.
Most of the time we just give it to them.
They're already here.
Don't already get me started. Oh, don't even. But I think a lot of, especially these South American and really the Mexican influx has pretty much gone down. We don't get a lot of illegal immigrants that are Mexican. We get Nicaraguans it's in Central America, Venezuelan, Guatemala, Cuba. I think a lot of these people should be given the opportunity to benefit the United States. And I also think that needs to be mutually beneficial. You're going to come here, you're going to provide certain services to employers, certain services to the American populace, and you're going to benefit because you provide those and keep your nose clean. You commit crimes, then you're going to have to go. We're not going to just allow criminals to cross our borders and stay here. We've got enough crime in the United States as it is.
Yeah, our citizens commit enough of the crime we don't need.
That's 100% fact.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess let's go to taxes, but after that I have dibs. Okay, so taxes. What are you doing with the corporate tax?
10%. 10% net.
10%?
Yep.
So no corporate tax, basically.
10% net. 10% net corporate tax, which is 7% lower than Trump's.
No exceptions? No. So, like, no backouts, no nothing?
Nope.
So everyone, no matter what, paying 10%.
10%. If you got a corporation, I will say if you brought a corporation that nets under $1 million per year, you'll probably pay 5%.
Okay. Net $1 million profit?
Yes.
Okay.
I hadn't considered the difference, but yes, I will say yes.
So we're not going to have corporate taxes?
No, have corporate taxes. Just going to incentivize job growth.
You think that's going to incentivize job growth?
Oh, yeah, we're also going to increase tariffs.
Okay, so you're going to increase
tariffs.
Tariffs?
Yep.
To what? And to who?
So what are current tariffs at?
We have some of the higher tariffs in the world. I couldn't tell you what percent they're. Probably like 14, 15.
Okay, so let's assume they're 14. If they're 14%, I'm going to increase them to 17%.
It depends on what products and stuff. So like it can very much change. But just generally, you're going to increase tariffs.
So I'm going to increase tariffs to 20% on products that could be produced in the United States but aren't.
How do you determine that?
Well, resource determination is pretty solid economic science. Like the U.S. could produce a lot more in-house, but we don't.
Right.
So I would say 20% on manufacturing that could be done here, but isn't. Which is also why I'm lowering the corporate income tax rate. I think we're going to incentivize more corporations to do more labor here, and the lower corporate tax rate will make up for our increased cost in labor compared to China and India. And Taiwan, really. It's going to enable us corporations founded in America, manufacturing in America, to compete on a global stage. The higher tariffs are to again incentivize that same action. So if you take that company, you produce it in China for cheaper labor, you're going to pay higher tariffs to import it into the largest economy in the world.
I can tell you that they're still going to probably stay in China because then they have to relocate.
So they might.
back.
They might.
I mean,
a lot of
jack up the
really
tariffs even more.
really for the past 22 years, we have lost a lot of manufacturing to China. Corporations switch pretty quick, and that's strictly because they have the money to do so, especially on lending. But yeah, corporate tax rates are at a net 10%, which is a total 10%.
Okay, so I'm just,
Effective.
It's nitpicky, but say effective 10%.
Effective. I apologize.
So I'm just saying like
No,
when you
words
say
matter.
net-
What
yeah,
are,
no,
what,
I'm
are,
just-
what are we gonna export to make us a global?
Corporations are going to export whatever they can.
okay, but here's the
If they can
Just-
get more exporting it to Europe than they could get paid for it in America, then they're going to export it. That is a free
I don't-
market economy.
just typically what happens if you impose a tariff, other countries will impose a tariff on you.
Yeah. So we don't don't export nearly as much to China as we import from them.
Right, I agree.
They end up paying more for having their companies based in China than companies based here will pay to ship it to China.
So what
Because
happens-
also we could ally with the West on import tariffs, and the West, like obviously Europe and Australia specifically. Australia, God, I thought I didn't like the Chinese economy system, but Australians hate the Chinese.
Yeah, the Aussies.
And they're also the lone, like besides Japan, they're the lone power in the Pacific.
Well, Aussies
But-
have a history with China.
And China owns a lot of their ports. But
Yeah, China's got a weird
So many.
game where they
So
build
many.
your ports, they finance it, they job it, they do everything,
We-
but
we-
they own it.
we've talked about it before.
So-
I think you explicitly
Yeah,
mentioned that
it's
before.
a weird job, and those people live there.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're Chinese citizens, but they live there, so it's a weird.
Especially
weird
in
and
again,
Australia, they own something like 80% of the world's ports.
Yeah.
which is insane.
Well, because the entire island's fucking port. But anyway, so yeah, higher tariffs, lower corporate tax rates.
how is that going to
probably keep
incentivize jobs though?
So lower corporate tax rates for founding in America is going to, I think, would balance off the higher wage demands. So right now we have I believe the last number was 5.6 million unfilled jobs. Don't quote me
Well,
if
that's
I am
gonna change.
wrong.
So what happens if corporations just pocketed the extra cash because of the low?
So the thing about capitalism is it capitalizes on greed. Greed is kind of this unambiguous thing that all humans have to deal with. Everyone wants to make more money. It's the root of socialism and communism and capitalism. The difference is capitalism puts it to work for you.
But so let's take a company like Amazon. Now they're just making more money, and they're doing completely fine. Why should they offer more jobs if they're making
To increase their market share.
Amazon.
So Amazon does have a huge market share. I think they believe I believe it is 80% of book sales is Amazon or my app that I use. Listen, no, it's not Robinhood. God, Robinhood.
Audiobook?
Audiobooks, yes. What was the
Audible.
word? Audible. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe
So-
they own Audible, but there are large market shares that are controlled by single corporations. But I believe that until monopolies are gained, I would probably also change monopolistic law. I'm very, very tired of umbrella corporations. Just as I believe pretty much anyone who understands what those is. I find the idea that 3 companies does not make a monopoly is asinine. Looking at you, Ben Shapiro, and it just
Ben Shapiro would debate you on that.
yeah, he would. And,
He would argue that too.
It's one of my big disagreements with Ben Shapiro is that a free market economy can consist of as little as 3. He specifically says 3 is why I mentioned that. But 3 corporations that control all of steel production is a monopoly.
Why does Amazon not have the right to buy someone out?
Oh, so they do. They do, because that company could just as easily refuse their offer. If I decide, so I mentioned
Not if it's
earlier.
hostile.
Yeah, also
They just buy enough. of your
So you didn't
shares
have to choose to go publicly traded, though. You don't have to be publicly traded.
Well, if you wanted to be, if you
And
want to be
Don't you on the global
across
market?
the,
And there are fail safes. So Elon Musk's Twitter acquisition deal, they had a failsafe in their legal documentation that prevented a hostile takeover like that. There are legal avenues to prevent hostile takeovers.
Well, so
Mostly
hostile
putting
takeovers from a
stocks down.
single person, but like hostile takeovers
from single entities or multiple entities. Like so, I believe
so like Amazon
Twitter
as a corporation is like pretty famous at it. So they just come in, they offer you something. It's like a medium tier offer, and they're like, "Oh, you don't take it? Well, then we will just buy you the hard way, and we'll either beat you in court or outlast you in court." And
so that's kind of the thing is, Amazon can obviously afford lawyers and stuff. Amazon's a bit difficult, but I am a bunker buster as far as Theodore Roosevelt is concerned.
Do you break up Amazon?
So I would have to determine market share. I would probably conduct an audit of federal of these corporations and how much market share they control, specifically in America, but broader ranging globally. And depending on what the percentage is, I believe I think if you own more than 75% of the market share, you constitute a monopoly. And really, maybe I would even consider, I would have to talk to Thomas after I nominate him for the Federal Reserve, but I would talk to him about a maybe even 60% market share constitutes a monopoly.
No, he would tell you that if the market, like if they got that 60%, that's theirs.
That's not true.
That's theirs.
That's not true. He's anti-monopoly like everybody else.
Yeah, but he's not against owning the market. He's against having one person.
So the difficulty there is that
he's against there being one piece of the pie. He doesn't care how much of the pie you have as long as somebody else has another piece.
Oh, I don't know that that's accurate, but
I will say I don't know that. So typically, when we have dropped corporate taxes, the money never funnels down.
Yeah, trickle down.
So if there's been one area that conservatives have
won,
won, it's probably fiscal policy. Like we have.
We're
living in the lowest tax era ever.
That is going to be another thing too.
More money's flowing to the top, less to the bottom, even less to the middle. I don't know why cutting taxes again would do
I think,
that.
So cutting taxes in and of itself may not, but cutting taxes and then encouraging new business growth via bunker busting.
Trust busting.
Trust busting. I'm sorry.
Bunker
busting's a missile.
Yeah, that's where you...
But you understand what I'm talking about.
They have enough incentive now, is what I would be like. Like, they have enough incentive now, but I
don't think so. I think so.
And I think
most companies are no longer doing full.
You're also going to run the risk of significantly higher prices in the short term for the tariffs.
And I think the American people might stomach that.
They're not stomaching now.
Yeah, they say they're pretty
they're not stomaching
right
that because they were lied to about it. I honestly think that the reason... So I could have swallowed $4.50 gas prices if Biden would have come out and said, hey, look, these are going to be the consequences of our actions. But instead what he did was he said transitory inflation, until we hit 9% inflation. And the problem is uninformed people don't listen to economists. So if you listen to economists in late 2021, they could have told you, hey, inflation's not transitory. But again, media personalities and everything else say, no.
You blame Biden on gas, and it's not his fault.
It is at least marginally his fault. So his foreign policy with Saudi Arabia via the Iran deal has led to them distributing less oil and primarily to Asia. Also, domestic oil policy, not letting oil companies drill where they want, freeing.
They have enough.
Strangling it with red tape.
They also have enough. Good. You understand?
These
oil companies.
Can I do green energy next?
The gas is going down, just so everyone's clear.
Gas is. I actually saw it. I saw it at 406, which is following by. I think it was it's trailing about 35 days behind the price of oil.
You know what happened?
Don't quote me on that either. I believe it's 35 days, maybe more.
It's going to change by the time people are watching this anyway.
But I believe it's 406 down from 470 something for 100% gas.
It's getting down. So
Oklahoma is a little different too.
Let's go on green energy.
Green.
I have a bone to pick next.
Green. Right. I'm sorry. Go ahead and pick your bone.
Okay. All right. So it's the culture. All right.
Not the dirty word.
So, is gay marriage legal?
Yes.
Is interracial marriage legal?
Yes.
Hold on.
I hesitate because that's a stupid question.
I don't think it's a stupid question.
If you leave it to the states, it's not.
Republicans.
I think it's a stupid question to me. If you were asking Clarence Thomas, I also think it's a stupid question to him too, because he's interracially married.
Interracial, maybe, but I don't know about gay marriage.
Maybe.
Actually, he voted against gay marriage. I don't have to speculate. Like, he voted against it. Him
Maybe.
and Alito voted against it.
I mean, so to me personally, I think it's a stupid question, but
Okay.
also I understand you wanting to get my record on the podcast. So I am pro gay marriage.
Do you allow if a adult wants to transition? Is that legal?
25 and up.
25 and up.
Not even a legally adult, like 18.
No. 25 and up. I want your brain to be fully developed before you start going
they can-
hormone and surgical
They
therapy.
can die on the battlefield, but not.
Yeah, the
No,
brain's
well, I mean,
developed enough
so
for
if you want to argue that we should increase the military age, I would probably say I'd raise it to
You're losing a lot of fighting age there.
I don't know. Really, your 25 to 35 is pretty prime, as long as you stay optimal. The problem with the modern Americans is we sit fat and happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Front
So
between.
that's
So,
why. That's why.
so
we
I would
recruit high school
age
kids.
I would also probably age military recruitment to 25. I'd also raise the alcohol 20 to 25, the cigarettes to 25, marijuana to
Really?
25, and voting to 25.
Would you cut it off at 62?
No, there's no cutoff for voting.
Why not?
Because regardless of how old
So
you
you
are,
can be
your
too
brain's
young
still
to
fully
vote.
developed.
But you can't.
Well,
Yes.
You're gonna tell me
The-
Joe Biden should have the right
You're
to
going
vote,
to tell me
but
that
me
the
and
same
Nick should-
ideas that you
me
had
and
at
Nick
16 you would want represented now?
I didn't argue for 16. Who argued for 16?
Anyone. Do you think this,
I
the
didn't
ideas
argue
you
for
held
16.
is the idea? Well, actually, Bernie Sanders does argue for 16. Lots of Democrats
not Bernie
argue
Sanders.
for. No, you're not. But you're all. I'm also not.
I like 18. You're a legal adult at that point. But you
I
can't
think
vote.
I think the age of legal adulthood is way too low. I don't think
So
you're
would you
really
move
an
all
adult.
that up to 25?
Probably.
I,
So
don't know. I mean, I
does that mean-
disagree, and you're wrong, but at least you're consistent.
Does that mean parents have to now foot bills for college?
No, but I believe you should be able to be covered under your parents' insurance till you're 25, which I think
so?
is still law.
Transgenders are legal now. They just have to.
Yeah, they have to wait till they're 25.
They just have to wait till they're 25.
Yeah, I don't care what you do to your body. I really, if you want to cut your dick off, I don't give a shit.
Okay.
But you're gonna make them wait till they're 25.
But you're not going to do it to children. Hormone therapy is illegal on anyone under 25.
Ooh, really?
Yes,
Nice.
100% illegal
Okay.
to anyone under the age of 25.
Penalty of fine, jail
Penalty of jail.
for the doctor, for the parents, for the kid. Who?
all parties.
So doctor we'll have to name it some arbitrary. Well, no, it won't be arbitrary. We'll have to name it some legal term, and then for the parents for aiding and abetting that legal term.
Okay.
Child's obviously innocent.
Interesting. What's the penalty for abortion?
So if you're caught getting an abortion, that's not for your life of your mother.
Yeah, it's like if you do a back alley coat hanger or whatever.
So the doctor gets jailed
What if
for
you do
murder.
what if you do a self-induced abortion?
Ooh, that's hard to prove, though.
Yeah. So assuming you could prove it, probably murder. If you go to a doctor to have it performed, it would be aiding and abetting a homicide. Don't quote me on the legal terminology.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes, that's tough. You and ISIS
I don't
would
like-
get along
I
at
don't-
a dinner party.
I don't like killing babies.
Neither does ISIS. Neither does ISIS. Unless it's a
Broken
Christian
clock's
group.
right twice. Broken clock is right twice a day.
They
Good
agree on
Lord, if I can get it out.
transgenders too.
And
You
kids.
and ISIS seem to
I
be
don't
on
care.
the same hand all the time.
It's an association fallacy. Don't really care.
I'm just saying they
I'm
are.
just saying when you're in the
Are
company.
you insinuating that I'm an ISIS member?
You're socially closer to them than you'd like to imagine.
You're
You're not as religiously committed
That's
as them, but it's,
ridiculous.
You're not in good company.
It's
But yeah, it is what I just wanted to know the penalties.
there they are.
Okay, I'm trying to think of some more. Is
Google
do you
association
do?
fallacy.
Can you
What do you do about
mention?
guns? What do you do about guns?
What did you say?
Can you mention equity in school?
Oh, do you? We'll do education after next question. That'll be farther in depth.
My mind goes into education here in a bit.
So gun control. So I don't oppose what the new legislation is. In-depth background checks. I think personal sales between family members ought to be allowed without background checks. Assuming you take on some form of liability. If I sell you a gun and then you go and commit a crime, I am at some point liable. I think that's reasonable. I would say no more than a 5-year sentence, just because you could be a very good liar. Strict background checks for federally licensed firearm dealers. I don't think there should be any restriction on the number of firearms, the number of rounds, the types of firearms, except explosive ordinances. I don't think.
Automatics?
So no, I'm pretty okay with the fully automatic restriction we have now. I believe it's $5,000. It might be $7,000. I believe I read that somewhere. $7,000 per year to renew a license to own fully automatic firearms. I'm pretty okay with that. Now, my only big beef with that is it only enables the rich to own fully automatic firearms. But I think you could be just especially well trained. You could be just as lethal with a semi-automatic firearm when the need presents itself. Fully federalized background checks from federally licensed.
What age are you allowed to buy a gun?
Probably 25. Probably 25. You can hunt.
16?
Yes.
Okay, so you can still drive at 16.
Yes, you can still drive at 16.
Okay.
So do you have to, is the hunt? Because you mentioned hunting. Is hunting you have to do like before you?
No, so hunting you can borrow a firearm under the supervision of somebody until you're 18. After 18, you can hunt wild game with any rifle you prefer.
Is it supervised by someone older?
No. Not after 18. Prior to 18, yes.
So
after 18 to 25, no.
So some kid can say he's just going out to hunt and then steal the rifle?
I believe that's reasonable. Like you're walking towards a school with a deer hunting rifle and you say, I'm going to go hunt deer.
You said any rifle of his choosing. What if he chooses an AR-15?
And then goes to school.
I mean, so he's going to the school, not hunting, right?
All right. Well, I'm just
you see
the problem. The gaps in your laws.
You see, the problem is if you
how is it not a gap? How is that not? How is that scenario not a gap?
You're not allowed to hunt by yourself until a certain age. You have to hunt with
10.
No. Like that's the laws now.
10. You can hunt by yourself after 10.
I don't think it is.
After you pass hunter safety education, which when I took it is 10. It may be different now, but I'm pretty sure it's 10.
I'll look at it, but
you can look at it all you want. But I think after 18, you're allowed to hunt by yourself. Now, obviously, if there's a 18, 19-year-old walking around with a gun near a school, you stop, questioning, and probably detain them because that's really sus. But other than that, like open carry permits, I think constitutional carry should be a federal law. You now have the right to carry guns outside of your home, period. Even assuming you're over the age of 25.
In anywhere?
Anywhere.
Stadiums?
Yeah, concerts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that seems like a whole...
I think more guns...
Schools?
The White House?
Why no schools? Why no schools?
Why not? Why not schools?
State or federal buildings.
Why?
No.
Why would those be an exception? I figure those
because those are the people. Those are the people who get people the most pissed off at them, and I don't need guns there. I would like armed security.
It's not the guns; it's the people, Garrett.
I would like
the
armed.
Guns, it's the people.
Oh, you're right. It is definitely.
No,
the
it's
people.
not. It's absolutely
no, it's definitely the people.
Because you're not trying to keep the people out. You're trying to let the people in because they're cool, but you can't let them bring guns because the guns are the fucking problem.
No,
just teach them how to shoot little Timmy.
I got his ass.
Fictional. No, it's entirely fictional.
Because if it was the people, you wouldn't even let the people in. But you let the people in without guns. That tells you it's the gun.
9/11 was committed with box cutters.
That's true.
No,
and as tragic as that was, the number of gun deaths per year are dwarfed by... 9/11 is dwarfed by the number of gun deaths per year.
I think there's like 3,800. 3,800 gun deaths per year.
I think it's more like...
When you take out suicides.
I think suicides only account for like half. Maybe a little over.
Suicides...
That's a lot, though.
Suicides take...
50% is a lot.
Yeah, but why would... I don't even know why suicides...
And then you take out gang violence...
Why would you take out gang violence?
You can't.
If you take out gun deaths, there is less total gun deaths.
Didn't say that.
Well,
if you take out criminal activity and suicide,
why would you not take out criminal activity?
Because criminal activity will continue whether or not you have.
With guns.
You're literally taking out the two things that contribute most to gun deaths: suicide and criminal activity.
I'm going to do that.
To cherry pick data.
I was like, dude, to get rid of the overdoses. Why don't we just get rid of needles? Or why don't we just get rid of the drug users? It's like, God damn, why didn't we?
I mean, arguably getting drug users help rather than leaving them on the street in California would probably do a lot. But you can't put them in institutions to get help because that violates their rights.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't stop us before. We used to do that. We used to throw in an institution for being gay.
Less drug addicts.
I don't know about that.
Conversion therapy is not what the Democrats portray it to be, but that's a different
Are you
topic.
serious?
Mm-hmm.
Is shock therapy legal in your country?
No,
Why?
because it's shock therapy.
Okay.
It's
Is
torture.
conversion therapy legal?
Yes,
My God.
sitting down with a psychologist to discuss your sexuality.
To convert them. It's called conversion therapy. It's not called talk about where you are therapy. It's conversion.
Why are you gay? And let's change that.
Yeah, it's how to change what you naturally are.
Like kind of like
Personally,
gay
I don't think it should be outlawed. I don't really
Do you
care
tax
what your
churches?
sexuality is.
Oh,
Huh?
we didn't even cover that one.
Do
That
you
was a good
tax
one.
churches?
No, I also if you were gonna tax churches, you tax all 501c3s, and I don't support taxing charities, so I don't tax churches.
Do you get rid of Social Security?
We're gonna have to do something about Social Security. Probably get rid of it.
Get rid of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Even though it pays for a
Food
lot of
stamps?
things?
So the welfare state, as we know, WIC is probably going to be expanded. WIC is going to be expanded. The adoption process federally and within states is going to be significantly expedited. I don't want to say detrimentally affected, because I don't want to make it faster and sacrifice the quality of foster and adoptive parents, because we have enough problems with poor quality adoptive parents being taken in by the system.
Okay.
I would want it expedited. I would want people who want children and can't have children are more than suitably functional adults, regardless of sexuality.
Okay, thank you.
I
I was
think,
fixing to get there,
Like
but
gays.
Homosexuals and even trans people who want to raise children and adopt them, as long as they're financially stable and meet the criteria, are and by criteria I do mean primarily financially stable and mentally stable. I don't want any history of violent crime, history of domestic abuse, stuff like that.
you're
But I do
going
want
to run into a shortage of people looking to have kids then.
I don't think so. I
Well,
don't think so.
That's
The
the system we have now, and you're not doing anything to change that. You're just making
Didn't I
it
just
harder.
say I would make it better?
No, you're...
Like I would
No,
expedite
you
the
didn't.
system to make
But how?
adoptions easier.
How?
How am I going to make
Do
it
you
easier?
get rid of the cost?
But this
I
one's
probably would get rid of the cost.
That's the thing.
I'd probably
Yeah, it can
increase- I'd
cost
probably
like
increase-
$20,000.
I know-
I probably would. I would get rid of the cost and give you the same tax credit for adopting a child as I would for biologically birthing a child.
I would hope so. It's their child now.
Well, yeah.
Like,
You get to claim them as a dependent.
yeah.
Okay, so I just continue that policy
Okay.
and also reduce the cost to zero.
If
I
you
mean,
wanna adopt
so
them,
I mean, to be honest, you're going to be
because it is
just financially, you're going to be removing that quote
Do you
unquote burden.
Do you increase funding to these programs?
We're probably going to have to.
You said WIC, right? You said increase funding. To
Yeah,
WIC.
we're gonna for sure WIC. Food stamps. I think I'm just gonna be a lot more strict on it. I'm very sick and tired. I know of at least 3 people that feed off of the food stamp system that have no business being on it. They are fully able to work, fully capable of finding jobs, and instead they're just feeding off the government to eat. And I don't know that many people is the issue. So anecdotally, I find the system to be abused, and throughout my life, I have found the system to be abused by people who use it, and I find that to be unacceptable. So we're going to have a much stricter criteria on federal unemployment and federal food stamps. I am perfectly happy to give help to struggling single moms, to struggling single dads, to people who just got laid off, and so on and so forth. I believe you should have at least a 6 to 8 month cushion to be able to help you find a different job. That's part of the reason I'm also decreasing the corporate tax rates in the hopes of creating more jobs in America for you to find. But you shouldn't, and you won't be able to feed off the welfare system for the entirety of your life. That's just unacceptable. There's no reason you go from
What about people who can't work?
So just about everybody can work, but I assume you're going to talk about people with crippling disabilities.
Yeah.
So like paraplegics.
Paraplegic, like Vietnam, PTSD-ridden vets.
I mean, so PTSD-ridden vets can work. I know one who does very consistently.
Severe?
You know one.
Yes.
Who does?
I know.
Well, so
I know.
to be fair, I don't know very many.
I know
vets.
several who are living under a bridge.
Who?
Tons. Go to OKC, you'll find a bunch.
And they're all. Have you verified their deployment status, or have you just taken?
I actually do want to say that there's a decent chunk of vets.
Majority of vets turn out to be homeless.
Well, not the majority, but
not even
large
close.
chunk.
Not even close. I would say about 13% of vets.
Oh,
13% of homeless are vets.
Okay, I was about to say I think it's like one in like 8 vets are homeless. I think it might even be higher than that, honestly.
Let's see. What else? So yeah, drastic cutbacks in
11% of homeless people are veterans.
I said 13, so I was right.
Well, that's
close enough, right? I think the viewers will agree that I was right.
In the first 5 years, 3.7 of veterans become homeless. That's 2011.
That's pretty outdated stats. But anyway, so there's my welfare system. Social Security has to be reworked because it's basically turned into a piggy bank to borrow against fiscal policy. So, infinite money. And the problem is we don't, so the idea behind Social Security was each generation after, so like boomers and the millennials were supposed to be bigger than them, except they weren't. And then Gen X was supposed to be bigger millennials, except they weren't.
Okay.
Demographics are decreasing.
So you're just going to end it?
So I'll be honest, I don't know how. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think the people currently reaping benefits from Social Security, I don't know. If you just turned 65, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do about Social Security. I do know that it has to be redone, though. I do know that it's not fair to have people paying into a system that they're not going to reap the benefits from, and that's the reality for my generation. Is my generation will never be able to retire on Social Security.
Oh, they'll find a way.
Yeah,
they'll
with
do
huge
what they always
deficits. Huge fucking deficits.
Unfortunately, yeah, but that's the
not
drawback
sustainable.
Of conservative fiscal policies. The deficits that blow up.
Definitely just conservatives. Definitely not Democrat policy that's led to huge deficits.
No, conservative fiscal policy is the problem. It's not
Definitely,
conservative or cultural. It's not democratic cultural. It's not any of that. It's literally just fiscal. It's not even economic.
Definitely taking money from people. It's definitely not the spending of the money, is what you're saying.
Because we have a guarantee.
So Democrats handing money out is not the problem.
You
it's
guys blow
Republicans
out the deficit more than Democrats.
Oh, for sure. At least in my lifetime, we have.
It's not even
100%
since ever. I think.
Well, so you're comparing 2019. I assume.
I think even adjusted for inflation, the only exception might be World War II.
Yeah, so even adjusted, but that was a very extenuating circumstances.
I agree.
We had a lot. So then, why are you making that point? So compare 2019.
It's the only
compare
time
2019.
Democrats have beaten you guys, and it was during the biggest war of this last century.
So compare 2019 budgetary spending to 2022 budgetary spending when we're not in crises.
Okay.
And Democrats have way blown it. They've blown out 2019 spending.
Yeah,
which
but
is
we haven't
fucking
blown out
unreasonable.
2020. But I think Joe Biden cut the deficit down $1 trillion from what.
When you compare it to.
But that's what I'm saying is that Republicans blow out the deficit more. At least in our lifetime.
That's not
even
true.
In our parents' lifetime.
That's not
sure it
true
is.
at
Yeah,
all.
it is. The deficit.
That's
I mean, Bill Clinton basically didn't have a deficit. I mean, he probably deficited a couple $100 billion, which is nothing. The Fed will do that tomorrow.
Just Google deficits by year, and then find out who has the control of Congress that year, and you can fact check Wyatt.
And find that I am right.
Sure. Okay, so what do we... Education. Alright, education's a good one.
Is college free?
Votech's free.
Okay, so Votech. So trade schools are free.
Yeah, college is not.
Okay.
Yeah, you get to choose to go to college, and you're not going to pay...
But you don't get to choose to go to Votech?
Oh, no, you can choose to go to Votech.
So if I
but
go to
everyone gets the right. Like, they can't refuse you. So for your trade, they can't refuse you.
Okay, so they have to give me a degree?
No, they have to accept you into the class, and they have to. You're going to have to graduate once you prove your knowledge.
But wait, so what if I can't make the cut?
What do you mean?
So what if I go to be an electrician and they say, "Why you're not passing the classes?"
Do
I get to be an electrician?
Then you get refunded your money.
I didn't pay.
You're paying by your taxes.
So my tax dollars go back. How would you even track that?
I mean, so how many people go to school? How many people are paying taxes into the system?
Okay.
And then you would refund
So
them that much.
So I'm 18 years old. I don't have a job. I just went to Votech school. Do I not get any money back?
You just went to Votech.
Yeah.
Are you still going to Votech?
I
Did you
tried,
drop
but
out
I
of
tried,
Votech?
I tried, but I couldn't pass.
Yeah, you get that. You get cash money in your pocket. You get a dividend payment.
Even though I didn't pay into it?
Yeah. Well, no, you did pay
That's
into
still
it.
going to be into it. Well,
You
I
did
had a
pay
job
into
yet.
it. Your parents paid into it.
So
Tons
why,
of people
so why do
paid
I
it.
get the check and they not get the check? Why am I getting a check?
The Democrats
I
have power.
failed. Yeah,
Because you're going to, assuming you're going to work.
That was good. That was good, Nick.
So you're assuming that White's going to go and work. So
Which is a bold assertion for y'all's generation.
You're assuming that you're going
I
to
don't
see
think so.
monetary return
I
back.
do.
Is that the assumption you're
But
assuming?
I haven't paid into it.
I'm assuming that if you go to Votech, there will be a net gain.
But if you go to college?
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting plan.
There's definitely a higher return on investment for Votech.
Think so?
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been...
A professional electrician can make $120 an hour.
Yeah, can.
They don't, on average.
I mean, average is like 60.
Talk about a nuclear engineer or a doctor.
Yeah.
You want to talk about high dollar an hour? I mean...
So the argument is what happens if they just can't cut it at Votech, huh?
Yeah.
I think they're entitled to that 2-year education. Whether they pass or not, they're entitled to get it. You're going to learn
So
at
I get
least
to
some
be a
semblance.
licensed electrician, even if I fail?
You get to say that you had 2 years, 2 to 4 years, depending on what the criteria is.
Right,
Depending
yeah,
on
I
the
get what you
profession, you get to say that you attended that many classes. You may not receive a diploma, but you get to say you attended those classes.
Okay. So
And you get
whenever
to
I said
attend them
more
for
or less
free.
the same thing for college, you were all up in arms about it. I was just trying to roll the point back at your face.
No, I know what you were doing.
Yeah,
I just... So Votech's free.
Okay.
And really, Votech's pretty much free until you're 24 now. So that doesn't really change anything. College is at your own expense. You want to take out loans for whatever interest rate the banks or the Fed will provide. Honestly, I might end federal subsidies into schools, into colleges.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's driven up the price just like it did in healthcare. I would probably say, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that college is at your own stipulation. You can borrow money against the Fed. You can borrow money from banks. You can borrow money from the school, but they're going to get to choose the interest rate. They're going to get to choose the criteria that lets you join, and you're going to pay it back. There's not going to be any paying back of your student loans because you majored in gender dance theory and now can't find a job.
Okay.
So, if we're going to talk subsidies for like STEM fields, I could talk that.
Why just STEM fields?
I think STEM fields have the most benefit to society.
Okay.
Specifically, prosperous society.
Okay.
I think once you start having a dominant portion of your populace go into like the arts, you start becoming...
Like philosophy?
No. Philosophy, I think, is a STEM field. To me, personally. It's probably
How
not.
the fuck is it a STEM field?
Philosophy's not even a thing anymore.
Yeah, it is. Sure it is.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, economics is arguably a form of... I mean, it's a social science.
What do you do to lower education, like high schools? Like, what do you do?
So welcome to the free market. From now on, every student gets a voucher for how much money, and they get to pick the school.
Oh, that's...
Also, fuck student-teacher union, or not, fuck teacher unions.
Yeah, that's another thing. Are unions legal?
Not teacher unions.
Okay, so you're going
Specifically
to
not.
so you're going to force the teachers' unions to disband.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you get no more say.
So what happens
Actually, so you know
Why
what?
not?
You know what? I won't get rid of teachers' unions, but I'm still going to do vouchers. You get to pick your school, and the money will follow you. Per student that comes to your school is how much money from the Fed you get, and from state. I will make that part of the law. Better performing schools will
So
get
do
more
private-
students,
do-
and more students will equate to more
voucher
money.
doesn't cover private schools.
It will cover private schools.
Can private schools turn you away?
No.
So
So-
they are now public schools?
So hold on.
The one part that nobody has ever thought of when they talk about school choice. The fact that their kids might still not cut it at private school.
So hold on. You're going to let lower education...
No, they can't turn you away.
Okay.
But they are still private.
How?
As in, so if I have a child who, say, cannot cut it at a Catholic school, I can still enroll they can't turn my kid away, but because I am choosing to go to them as opposed to a different school, they still get the funding from my child attending.
Can they kick your child out?
No.
Even if they don't believe in that religious values?
Yeah, even if my kid's going out and espousing some atheist bullcrap.
What if he doesn't go to... What if they require you to go to Mass and your kid refuses?
Well, then he fails the curriculum. Like, that's part of the private school thing. You have to do the curriculum.
So you'll do...
And otherwise, you could take the student out and go to a curriculum they would pass.
It will finally... so obviously I don't agree, but I mean, it will finally end the myth that private schools perform higher. The only reason they
for sure perform higher.
They do perform higher, but there's a reason. It's because they cannot turn you, or they can turn you away. Public schools cannot turn you away, regardless of how bad you do. Most public schools can't
also because they have better teachers.
We have no
and
child
higher
left
paying
behind.
teachers.
So, they even if you fail, they have to let you pass on to the next grade. Private schools don't have that. And as a matter of fact, private schools can kick you out. So if private schools have to take you and they're letting anybody in and they have class sizes of now 30 kids, 40 kids.
But they also get all the funding that goes with that.
They are going to... Yeah, that's true, but it's not going to make the difference with the class sizes.
I think it will. And I think it will mean like poor teachers are out of a job. Because if your child is going to a school that has poor teachers, you're going to find out. And then you're going to put them in a school with better teachers.
So no fault of the teacher, just no one wants to go to that school. Now
I don't think as many people would move as you would think, because most people
it would incentivize. That's why I said I won't get rid of teacher unions, because this system will get rid of teachers unions on its own. Bad teacher, or at least bad teachers in it. And that's the problem with teachers unions.
No, it will not.
Because better schools will get better students and train and teach better students, higher scoring students.
But you're creating an even bigger gap that already exists.
I won't, because any student can go to any school.
No, they can't.
They can.
So I just said that. I live in Newcastle. Can I go all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma for the best school?
Yeah, you drive them there, go for it.
I think even you know that that's not feasible.
You do realize that?
I think even you.
Do you know how many suburbs? Do you know how many suburbs there are? Like, move if you want your kids to go. People move for school districts all the time. This isn't an uncommon thing.
Right. But they usually move, mostly
for school districts.
So the richer people move for school districts. Most people move for proximity to their work.
People who plan to have children move and consider school districts routinely.
I will concede some, but not
like most.
Not most.
Most.
Not a majority. Not over 50%.
You could talk to every parent in our family, and I will tell you that.
Yeah, sure, but we come from a pretty well-off family. If you talk to somebody,
not all of the people are well off.
Yeah, but even then, I guarantee you that if you talk to some of our family, they're just like, dude, I didn't even think about that.
Our family was pretty well off.
Like our family?
Our immediate family.
Oh, for sure. Like, we are top 10% easy. Probably top 5%.
But where you live is oftentimes not a choice.
Yeah, it is. For sure a choice. So you don't have to live in inner city Oklahoma. You can find someplace just as cheap out in, let's say, Sapulpa.
It's such a random town, and I love that.
It's a suburb of Tulsa.
But where there's like... So you're going to replace one high crime area with another high crime area and expect it to...
Why did you assume that inner city Oklahoma City was a high crime area, Nick?
Because statistically, Tulsa is one of the worst crime areas here in Oklahoma. So
the suburbs of Tulsa aren't.
Yes, they are.
It's inner city Tulsa.
No, both sides of Tulsa. I know people from Tulsa, and they'll tell you.
It's like the eastern
Tulsa's
side.
Not
like
a good
Broken
place.
Arrow's pretty all right.
Lawton's a terrible place to live. You're replacing one bad area with another bad area. I know people who live paycheck to paycheck.
The reason
you're move. And they were forced to go to our school. And they can just now up and away? No.
Yeah, if their parent will drive them to whatever school. So let's say in Bridge Creek.
Their parent works
not under Biden's gas prices.
Well, they work 3 jobs. They ain't got the time. Show me the time.
You don't have a grandparent. You don't have somebody.
Most of them do.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah, I think
somebody is going to be able to drive that student.
We've got to start wrapping our minds around is that not most people aren't as fortunate as maybe we three were growing up. So we did have grandparents that could drive us to school. Some people do not. Some people have
I'll mandate school drop-offs at 6 a.m. You have to be open at 6 a.m.
Schools.
Most reasonable people will be able to drop their kid off at 6 a.m. and drive the hour commute to work.
Not a single mother who's got to be at work at 5:30.
There are going to be exceptions.
I'm just saying that,
there's going to be exceptions to any system you have.
It's a cute idea. I just don't think it'll solve the problem.
I think it solves so many problems.
Like?
So many problems. Like piss-poor teachers still being able to live off the state's dime, which I think is a huge problem.
That's not going to solve it.
Lower and lower test scores and the inability.
It's going to hurt rural America, and I don't know that I like it. It's going to hurt working class America.
I don't think so. So Dale is a really highly rated school where I'm at, and it's a very rural
for the
school.
area. For the area, or
yes.
for the state.
For the area and for the state.
Mm.
Like the 3 districts around where I live, of the worst of them is the big one.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt inner city schools. It's not going to hurt rural schools. Rural schools typically do better.
I don't think that's true.
I do.
Well, mostly because rural schools have to do better because they have smaller student count.
Well, rural schools do better on average,
Not
but
really.
their top dudes, like their star potential, they just because they have less of a talent pool. It's just part of it.
I thought you said they didn't do better.
They don't. So it's the same reasons. Think of it like this. Think 3A basketball, right? You might have the best 3A team in the state by a bunch, and you might have a greater margin of victory than like any 6A school against any 6A school. But at the end of the day, when you go up against 6A school, 6A school is going to beat your ass.
Dale is a 3A school. 3A. It's a 3A school. And it has higher test scores than the nearest large town where I live.
Yeah, so average test scores, yeah.
Which would equate to
because they don't
better learning environment, correct?
No, because Dale has a smaller...
Well, smaller population favors the higher average.
When you have
which you would probably have
Does
to
it?
do. So I would recommend...
More teachers in the big school, small amount of teachers in the small school, smaller student load.
Right.
Larger student load per more teacher.
The number one at Shawnee is going to be significantly better than the number one at Dale, and it's not even close. And I can just tell you that.
Don't think so. I grew up on the academic team, and our smartest people were just as smart as the first day students. We went up, and we could compete with people from Mustang, from Yukon, from what's the Catholic school?
Academic team, maybe Mount St. Mary.
That's what I'm thinking of.
I was not on the academic team. I was doing.
We had some smart kids, but at the end of the day, when those people graduated and moved on, and they got to college and they went up against those same kids, those other kids finished better. I've seen a lot of people, honestly, I thought a lot smarter than me, not finish out because they just weren't as smart as they were in high school. They weren't as smart as they thought they were in high school. So.
Yeah, so student vouchers. Definitely doing that.
All right. So what is the goal when you're trying to create your country? What's your goal?
To continue the most prosperous civilization advancement that's ever been known to Earth.
So we have a claim followed by an unjustified assertion.
Oh, super justified. It's so justified.
Okay, so you want to continue what you view as the best civilization ever.
More people making more money than ever. With a higher standard of living.
I think honestly it would be less people making more money. The current state of America would be probably less people, more money.
The poor in America are the top 1% of the global income.
Right, but do you understand that if you dropped... So
how's that feel? You're a 1%er.
We are also priced accordingly, if you didn't know. So it's not like we can, you don't have to roll your head. Like, you know that that's true. Like, it's the same reason, like, if you took all your money that you had saved up right now and you lived in Jamaica, then you'd be the richest dude there. I
would like to continue pulling as many people out of poverty as we have since World War II. And really since the founding.
Can you name me a country, a non-European country we've pulled out of poverty? Successfully?
Mexico.
Bullshit.
If
The
Mexico,
cartels.
if Mexico
The
was
cartels
so, if
pulled
Mexico was so
Mexico.
prosperous, you wouldn't be trying to keep them all out.
I'm not.
You'd be trying to prevent Americans from leaving there.
You did argue one
Americans
time that we
aren't
should
leaving
hang the
America.
parents of immigrants.
It's not the policy I advocated for as dictator.
It's what you advocated before.
It's because you've rethought that.
Is that a crime?
I'm glad you rethought that. No, it's good. I'm just saying that, like, at one point.
Well, it seems like you were
did-
just trying to
But
demonize me.
don't pretend that America
I'm not
made
demonizing you.
Mexico
As
better.
far
That
as
for sure.
you demonized you. I didn't say hang the parents of
mean,
migrant children. You said
Was that the policy that I advocated
Garrett,
for?
how
one point.
did America make Mexico better?
Huh?
How did America make Mexico better?
By sending a lot of manufacturing their way.
I thought you were against that.
By sending a lot of manufacturing to Mexico?
Yeah, I thought you were trying to make things.
Are we
in
trying to
America.
build stuff here or not?
So I think by building stuff here, we're going to keep increasing global trade.
I think
Does that
that's
make
what-
sense? We're going to create
Yeah.
more jobs here, but there's only going to be so much that
So
America
what is-
can do on its
what is-
own reasonably.
What does Amazon have to export?
Manufacturing. Manufacturing is our primary export to Mexico.
What are we manufacturing?
But I thought we were trying to
Anything.
manufacture here.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
So are we manufacturing here or Mexico?
Jobs. Jobs is what I want to bring here with lower corporate tax rates, not strictly manufacturing.
Okay, so
Manufacturing is
going to
be able to
everywhere else, but we're going to bring more jobs here,
yes,
Somehow.
and that's going to be
Higher level
accomplished
jobs.
through a.
lower corporate tax rate.
So we're
How
gonna,
are you going to get higher level jobs with a harder way to get higher level education?
It's not going to be harder. It's going to be the same to get higher level education.
You said
Actually, it would be
you're gonna take away
easier
student
because
loans.
trade schools.
Okay, so when you say higher level jobs, what do you mean? Like more artisan type?
Not
Like
manual
electrician?
labor jobs. Not strength based jobs. Trained based jobs.
So we're
so
going
the
to be
majority
a
of
bunch of
Americans, the majority of American jobs.
I
right
wouldn't
now,
call highliners wussies, but you can do what
So
you
the
want.
majority of Americans' labor force is gone. We don't care about it.
No, we're still going to require domestic strength based. So we're still going to have people to do manual labor in the U.S.
So you don't care that
That's
we
pretty
use
locked.
Mexico and China for manual labor,
That's what we do now.
but you want to get rid of that.
And it's brought a lot of their country out of poverty.
No.
Yes. China, before entering the world stage as a manufacturer, was deeply
It's
impoverished.
also not just us with China, by the way. China,
So was Mexico.
We were kind of the last on board.
They're
with
both.
China.
You call them both, and I quote, shit shows.
When did I call Mexico a shit show? I probably did. That
Often,
sounds like me.
Often.
China's definitely a shit show. They're committing genocide.
We commit genocide. We fund genocide.
Do we?
Sauds, Yemen. We fund genocide for oil.
Okay.
So don't,
Anything for $4 gas, right, boys?
Nestle.
Nestle. God dang it. It always comes back to Nestle with that dude.
We hit them in two continents: Africa and South America.
The U.S. economy has pulled more people out of poverty than any other system in the
In
entire
American
history
history.
of the world.
It's arguably killed just as many as any other economy in the world.
Definitely not. Not even approaching Maoist and Stalinist China and Russia.
Mao's would be close because I don't
Mao
know,
killed a
international-
lot of people.
I don't know. It depends on what you count. I mean,
Stalin killed a lot of people.
hard to
Lenin
say.
killed a lot of people.
Lenin didn't kill nearly as many people as America did in the past 50
Yeah,
years.
not as Stalin.
But to be fair, Lenin didn't have a lot of time in power. Yeah, it's hard to
Venezuela dictators killed a lot of people.
say. Not nearly as many as America. It's not even close.
Well, like over in the entirety. So
Even
Venezuela's
if
been
you-
for the
if
past.
you just do since Venezuela's been communist.
Oh,
It's
you're
not
full of
close.
shit then.
No,
You're
yeah, it's not
entirely
even
full of
close.
shit.
No, it's not
There's
even
no way
close.
we've killed as many people as the Venezuelans have if we're going over the same time scale.
Yeah, sure,
No
sure.
fucking way.
Yeah, when did they become communist?
I thought it was the 90s when they
Oh,
started
absolutely.
taking.
Yeah, that's not even fucking close. Are you kidding me? We probably beat that just in Iraq. Like, that's not even close.
Deaths by starvation, deaths by political torture.
I mean, if you're counting
Communist
all those
nations
for
aren't-
us too, then we definitely beat them out. So I mean, I'm here. If you want to do this arithmetic, I'm here for you. But let's count it all, man. Let's count it all.
Yeah, you counting like
It's kind of like
capitalism as a whole versus communism as a whole. Who's killed more people?
Communism. by a lot.
Well, it depends on where you
England's
start
colonizing.
capitalism. Because communism, unlike capitalism, has a very distinct start date. Capitalism, it's iffy. Some people started in the 1500s with
16th
Mercantilism.
century.
the Spanish Netherlands. Mercantilism is something
If you count
completely
England's capitalism, there's a lot of dead people.
Most people try and start it at the Industrial Revolution. I'm like, that's not. It was before then. It didn't. You don't just pop that. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, we need to wrap this video up. So,
I
is there
agree.
anything else?
So yeah, the entire goal is to continue the prosperity that's been orchestrated by American hegemony across the globe. For America, for surrounding countries, for countries that don't even like us, have benefited severely.
You have not shown one country that's benefited from
Saudi Arabia. Iran.
They've been fined.
Oh, that's a great example. That's so good. The best you can come up
Egypt,
with is Saudi
Morocco,
Arabia.
Spain,
How do you know
Italy,
that-
France,
I think
Germany,
France and them were doing just fine.
Ukraine,
They were doing fine.
Europe was
Turkey,
fine. Europe is fine.
And I wouldn't.
Israel,
I wouldn't point. Israel,
China,
I might give you. Israel without.
I'm not giving
Korea,
Israel.
Japan,
Israel without
Indonesia,
American hegemony
Japan
would
is
be
fine.
India,
Indonesia's a shit show.
Mexico,
Mexico's a shit
Central
show.
America,
Shit show.
most of South America.
Shit show.
Not compared to what it was.
I feel like you're just naming countries and you're not actually listing reasons why. And I know it's a clever idea, I guess, because the viewer doesn't know.
No, there's
like Joel. I know you don't know, but we're making
lying.
shit up.
He's
That's not true.
His number one example was Saudi Arabia, and then Iran.
Because we started buying their oil, which increased their prosperity, which increased the monetary.
We buy their oil
value.
despite the fact that they
Not saying they don't.
9/11.
Not saying they don't do horrible shit. Just saying we
You
increased their
understand-
prosperity.
you understand-
Anything for $4 gas.
You understand that they were selling oil before we were a big superpower?
And then we bought it. And you know what?
Everyone was buying it. You can't say America.
We brought way more money. Way more money. Which increased the inflow of money into the country. Same thing with
They
Mexico.
were already rich. They were
Same thing with most of South America. You know who started buying fucking coffee beans?
Tell you what,
America.
Why don't you ask
You bought
South
cocoa?
America and all these other countries how much they like American hegemony? If American hegemony is
You
just
go
so
ahead.
star-spangled awesome, if we poll the rest of the world and we say, hey, is American hegemony a good thing?
How about we do
you
5
think they're coming
years-
back yes, or do you think they're
How
coming
about we
back
do
no?
5 years without American hegemony and we'll see where we are? I'll make you that deal.
Wow, letting
5 years without American
So I
hegemony.
would say America is such the bull that it is, if you did it, first 5 years might be chaos. If you give me 10, 15, yeah, it's no question.
Wow, letting countries
Yeah.
do their own thing without fear. Yeah.
Yeah, like rob other countries when they don't have the resources. Definitely worked out.
We do
great
that-
for
We do
most
that.
of
We
the
do that.
We
We
do
do
that.
that, and we call it justice.
We call
We
it
don't.
freedom.
We
Freedom
don't.
spreading.
We're importing democracy and justice and freedom.
We don't steal the resources of other countries.
Nestle.
I can't
We
believe
buy them.
you can't
Nestle.
honestly say that, right?
I can.
Nestle.
How?
5 years without American hegemony. You're fixing to find
no,
out.
no.
That's a real question.
You're
You're
fixing to
telling
find
me
out.
America has never stolen resources from any other country, despite the fact that we have a presidential administration in the Bush administration that admitted that they went to war for oil.
And other resources.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sure.
I'll give you the last word, but I think I'm done.
I don't think the oil in the Middle East was being accessed as easily before we invaded.
Don't justify resource war, Garrett.
All wars are resource wars.
Yeah, that's
Yet
why we
Americans
fought, yeah, that's
are
why we
different.
fought the Nazis.
Well, the
'cause they
Nazis
had so much
started.
oil.
The Nazis started World War II because they were out of resources and their economy was shit.
They had the best. They had the
All
quickest
wars
comeback.
are resource wars.
That's ridiculous.
It's not.
No, it is. It super is. A lot of wars are fought for theological reasons.
Crusades were fought for resources,
Yeah, but
theological resources, but
a lot
resources.
Oh, so you're just okay. Whatever is a resource, everything's a resource. So technically, everything's fought for. Okay, whatever, fine. Just say your
no.
honest
All
bit.
wars are resource wars.
Yeah, I get it. You know, the spirits and minds of.
If you get it, then shut up.
infidels. I know. I'm just
That's
saying.
not
it
what I
doesn't-
said at all.
You're
I said
counting-
all wars are for something to you're going to get something you don't have.
Okay, so if
It's a
we're counting
resource
that as a
war.
resource, then yes.
That is what a resource is. Something you could use.
Yeah, but most people I'm saying that most of our wars recently have been for natural resources, and I find that wholly immoral, especially at gunpoint when you could just.
I feel like Afghanistan was for terrorism.
We supported the Taliban 40 years ago.
Yeah,
like, I don't know
they also hadn't
we actually directly funded them.
We funded every
We had
terrorist
two
organization.
presidential administrations,
betting
Republican
on
and
the
Democrat,
wrong
called them
horse.
loyal and faithful allies.
Betting on the wrong horse does not mean
It's
that
not
we knew
betting
they
on
were
it.
going to be terrorists.
You're funding the wrong horse, and then stopped funding them and said they were terrorists.
It wouldn't have taken much to know that they were the wrong horse, and instead we doubled down.
Just look into it.
And then we funded other terrorists.
All wars are resource wars. They're all fought because countries run out of resources. They need to expand. It's the same thing that happened in Germany in World War I and World War II. The same reason that happened in Communist Korea.
Your
and
understanding of history cannot be that World War I started because Germany ran out of resources. That cannot be your or
I don't
World
think
War
it was
II.
Germany. It was definitely World War II. Definitely World War II.
how?
Yeah.
How?
So the German economy collapsed, and they couldn't
But
support
then they
themselves.
rebound the fastest. They rebound the
Because they started taking shit. There's
No.
a fascist takeover of fucking corporations
Mustache Man
and
got into
resources.
Power. Mustache Man got into
What was the
power.
first thing he did, Nick?
Well, he told the treaty was
Killed
signed to go
socialist and communist.
shoot. It actually is the first thing he did.
That's what he did first. In case you guys didn't know, the first concentration camps were for socialists and for communists, and then for Jews.
National Socialist Party.
He killed socialists first.
National Socialist Party.
Yeah, I know you think that that's a witty one-liner, but anyone who knows anything about history knows that the National Socialist Party was not the predominant left-wing party. You're trying to associate.
Or people who pretend to know a lot about history.
I know more history than both
Then
of
explain
you.
to me what caused World War I and how it was Germany for resources.
Pretty sure it was some Turkish dude who shot some
Serbians. It's a Serbian shot an Austrian.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
It's all because you
Killed by the Black Hand. Oddly
Killed
enough,
by
where
the-
Skyrim gets the Black Hand. And, I guess, Oblivion and Elder Scrolls.
I think I pretty much closed out. I think I already said what I was planning to do with...
Comment if you would like to live in Garrett's America.
Or any of ours. Comment on why it's in mine.
Yeah, pick your favorite. We've done a trio of them.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
We should get a poll. We have to have 1,000 subscribers to do a poll. But
You
once
have
we do a poll,
1,000
Do we
subscribers?
really?
yeah.
That's
Oh,
stupid.
we're like way off then.
Let's do a comment.
But with your help,
Yes! Pass
we
this
can
on to a
achieve this
friend.
great goal of ours. All right, goodbye, everybody.
Do it
Bye.
today.